All right, buckle up because today we're diving deep into a case that's had the world talking for years.
The Jodi Arias story.
Exactly. Everyone's heard the name, but it's the why that really gets me.
Hmm?
And this time, we're going beyond the headlines with the Wrath of Jodi video from JCS Criminal Psychology on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. It really goes into, the psychology behind it all.
Yeah, it's not just about what happened, but like what was going on in her head.
Totally.
So are we ready to unpack the psychology of Jodi Arias and try to figure out what led her to do this?
Let's do it.
Okay, so picture this. It's 2006. Jodi and Travis meet, sparks fly, and they start dating. But right off the bat, there are some red flags.
Oh, absolutely. From the beginning, you can see some signs.
What kind of signs? Like, what should we be looking for?
Well, think about it. They only dated for 5 months, right? But then she moves from California to Arizona.
Okay, so not exactly next door.
No, not at all. And get this, she moves just 2 blocks from Travis.
2 blocks. That's a
They're-
bold.
To say the least. And they weren't even officially together anymore.
So they had broken up, but she still moved that close to him.
It's a classic sign of, well, let's just call it possessiveness.
Okay, so they weren't a couple, but they were still seeing each other.
Yeah, it's kind of like a friends with benefits situation.
Right. But even that, that doesn't really explain the move.
No, it doesn't. And it gets weirder. The video mentions she would, sneak into his house.
Sneak in? What, like while he was sleeping?
And even take pictures of him.
Okay, that's just creepy.
Yeah, we're talking about obsessive behavior here.
Right. And, there was that detail about Travis being a Mormon.
Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Could that have, played a role in all this, you think?
I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud here. But Mormonism has some pretty strict rules about relationships, right?
Definitely. It's possible that was adding to the whole push and pull between them.
Yeah, maybe. So things escalate. In May of 2008, Travis plans a trip to Cancun with another woman.
Mimi Hall.
Right, Mimi Hall. This seems like a major turning point. Now, Jodi doesn't take this news well, does she?
If you think about it, for someone who's already showing signs of obsession, this is like a total rejection.
Yeah, like the ultimate betrayal.
Exactly. And it's right after this, just days before Travis is supposed to leave for Cancun, that Jodi goes to his house.
And they take those explicit photos together?
Yeah, what was she thinking? Was she trying to, win him back at the last minute?
Or maybe just create one last memory, before he went away with someone else.
It's hard to say, but it definitely adds another layer to this already complicated situation.
And then, well, everything changes.
Murder.
The murder.
It's brutal. Travis was stabbed 27 times.
27 times.
Yeah, his throat was slit. He was shot in the head.
Yeah.
The level of violence is just horrifying.
It's like she's trying to erase him, not just kill him.
And some of it, it was actually caught on camera.
Wait, what? Like she filmed it?
No. Travis's camera accidentally took some photos during the attack.
Oh my God. That's chilling. And then after all that, she tries to clean the crime scene.
Right, which is so interesting, right? Because on the one hand, you have this incredibly violent act, but then she's trying to cover it up.
So was she in control, or was it just like a total blackout?
It's a good question. And to be honest, nobody really knows for sure. It's one of the big mysteries of this case.
And then there's the road trip.
To Utah.
Right. She drives all the way to Utah, leaving voicemails for Travis along the way.
Almost like she's trying to create an alibi.
Yeah, but it seems so far-fetched. Like, did she really think she could get away with it?
Maybe, or maybe it was more about, controlling the narrative, trying to make herself look innocent, even though the evidence is stacking up against her.
So she finally gets to Utah, but obviously the police are on her trail.
And that's when we get to the interrogation, which is, in my opinion, one of the most fascinating parts of this whole story.
Okay, tell me everything. What happened when they finally brought her in?
Well, her behavior is strange from the get-go. She's pretending to sleep. She's fixated on the voice recorder.
What? Like she's trying to mess with it?
No, not really.
Yeah.
Just staring at it, almost like she's fascinated by it. And she's sitting in this, weird position.
Okay, so is she just nervous, or is this something else?
Nerves are understandable, but there's something more to it. It's almost like she's putting on a performance.
Like she's trying to play a part.
Exactly. And then she starts going off on these tangents.
Tangents? Like what's she talking about?
Religion? Her job? She even tells this long story about a tow truck driver.
A tow truck driver? What does that have to do with anything?
Nothing, really. It's like she's trying to distract the detective, shift the focus away from the murder.
It's also calculated.
Yeah, and her story keeps changing. First, she says she had nothing to do with it. Then she claims the photos of her and Travis are old. And finally, she suggests that maybe someone else killed him.
So many different stories. So was she making it up as she went along?
It's hard to say, but it's definitely a red flag.
And then, of course, we get to the trial, and that's when she comes out with a self-defense claim.
Right. Now, all of a sudden, Travis is this abusive monster who forced her to kill him.
And they really went after his character, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. They painted him as a sexual deviant, even a pedophile.
I remember they brought up that thing with the Spider-Man underwear.
Yeah, that was pretty controversial. It
Yeah.
seemed like they were trying to manipulate the jury, make them feel sorry for Jodi.
Okay, so she's claiming self-defense, but her story about what actually happened that night, it keeps evolving.
Right. First, it was an accident with the camera.
Oh.
Then she had to shoot him because he was attacking her.
And this is where those 2 accidental photos from Travis's camera come in.
Oh, yeah, those were crucial. They basically show that her story didn't add up.
Because of the timeline.
Exactly. The first photo was taken when she claimed she dropped the camera, right? And the second photo, the one with Travis's body and Jodi's foot, that was taken just 62 seconds later.
62 seconds. There's no way she could have done all that in 62 seconds.
That's what the prosecution argued. There just wasn't enough time for everything she claimed to have happened.
It's like they were using her own story against her.
And then there's that moment, when they ask her to demonstrate the linebacker pose.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. It was like, whoa, is this really happening?
It was risky, but it worked. By making her act it out, the prosecutor was able to show how ridiculous her claim was.
And then there's the whole thing with the knife. She said she just found it somewhere after the shooting.
But again, the timeline just didn't make sense. If she had to search for the knife, there wouldn't have been enough time.
So the prosecution was basically dismantling her whole self-defense story piece by piece.
Exactly. They were using logic, evidence, and a deep understanding of psychology to expose the truth.
And in the end, the jury agreed with them.
They found her guilty of first-degree murder, and she was sentenced to life in prison without parole.
Wow. So what was her reaction when they read the verdict?
It was strange, actually. She didn't seem to show much emotion at all. She just kept saying she was innocent.
Like she was in denial.
Yeah, like she couldn't accept what had happened. Or maybe she was still trying to control the narrative, even then.
But it doesn't end there, does it? The story of Jodi Arias, it goes beyond the courtroom.
Yeah, because even after she was behind bars, she was still in the spotlight.
Giving interviews from prison, writing letters, trying to manage her public image.
It's like she couldn't let go of the attention.
Even after everything that had happened. And of course, the media just ate it up.
Oh, yeah, this case was everywhere. It was on every news channel, every website. It was like you couldn't escape it.
Exactly. And that kind of media frenzy, it can have an impact,
Yeah, like trial by media.
Exactly. It makes you wonder how much public opinion might have influenced things.
It's a good point. But even setting the media aside, this case, it just brings up so many questions.
It really does.
Toxic relationships, obsession, the line between love and violence, it's all there.
And the deception. The way she was able to manipulate people. It's fascinating, but also kind of scary. Yeah, it makes you wonder if you really know anyone.
Right. Like, could anyone be capable of something like this?
So what's the takeaway here? What have we learned from this deep dive into the Jodi Arias case?
Well, for me, it's a reminder that people can be incredibly complex. You might think you know someone, but there's always more to the story.
It's like that saying, still waters run deep.
Exactly. And it shows how important it is to be, aware of the signs of obsession and manipulation.
To not ignore those red flags.
Right, because the consequences can be devastating. And, this case, it also makes you appreciate the work that investigators and forensic psychologists do.
Trying to piece together the truth, figure out what really happened.
Because the truth, it can be slippery. Sometimes it's right there in front of you, but you have to really look for it.
Well, I think we've done a pretty good job of uncovering the truth today, at least as much as we can.
Yeah, we've gone deep. We've explored the evidence, the psychology, the media frenzies surrounding this case.
And I think, even after all this, there are still some unanswered questions.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
But that's what makes true crime so compelling, right? It stays with you. It makes you think.
And maybe, just maybe, it helps us understand ourselves a little better.
I like that. Understanding ourselves, understanding each other. Maybe that's the key to preventing something like this from happening again.
That's a powerful thought. So there you have it, folks. Another deep dive complete. We've gone deep into the Jodi Arias case, explored the psychology, the evidence, the media frenzy, and I think we've come out with a better understanding of this complex and tragic story. But the conversation doesn't end here. Keep thinking, keep questioning, and keep exploring the world of true crime. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.